Hello, Master Manifester. Today we're talking about intentions and authentic alignment. How do you know that your intentions are authentic and not something that you came up with because you think it might please somebody else or it might please society? How do you know that you're really trying to please you and building you for you? That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. So just to start off with, what is authenticity really? Because I know a lot of the times people will think it's, you know, being honest to the point of rudeness and oversharing, and that is not what it is. Being authentic is not being false about how you feel about things. That doesn't mean you can't change your mind. I change my mind constantly, and I reserve the right to change my mind over and over and over again until I reach a conclusion that I feel is adequate. And then if I come back 5 years later and I think I didn't have enough information, I'll change my mind again. I don't lock in identity to external circumstances like that. They change too much. It's just unrealistic for me. So when you get into that place that you feel compelled by the social matrix, right? We all do to some degree. Now, sometimes that is real and you really do want it, even though it happens to involve the social matrix standards, right? And that's okay. But what we're really looking at right now is it honest? Is it genuine? Or is it a performance? Because if you're wearing a mask and you get a manifestation, a lot of the time it's going to feel bad. It's not going to be what you wanted, even if it looks exactly like what you said. And some of you are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. So you can manifest something that you think is going to be the greatest thing. Like I once wanted to go to Dallas, right? I wanted to go live in Dallas. And I had some specifications and everything. I knew what I wanted about my job, but I didn't have enough self-awareness. And this is where you really need the self-awareness, like a lot. You need to really understand your values, your core values, your priorities, and understand that that is a constantly changing thing. So you need to check in every so often to make sure you're still aligned with you and your core values and where you're going with your story and your character. Because once you get to a place, you're not going to stay put. It's just going to keep moving. The story keeps going, right? So to know if something is authentic for you, sometimes you do just have to try it out. Sometimes you have to say, okay, let's just give it a shot, or maybe even in baby steps, right? So let's say you want a job that's like I wanted to work in hotels when I was in Dallas, right? So I wanted to go to Dallas and I wanted to work in hotels and I wanted to manage a hotel. This is what I thought I wanted at the time, right? I thought I wanted to be a general manager of a hotel. So I went out to Dallas and I got everything set up and everything was like I wanted it to be. But of course, then the new problems come in, right? I had all of my manifestation. I didn't have the general manager job, but I had the pathway to it, right? My story was on that trajectory. But the closer I got to it and I went up to like assistant manager, the closer I would get to it, the less I wanted it and the less I felt like it was what I really wanted. I thought that that was just kind of what I was expected to do based on what I was already doing. And your brain does that a lot. It wants stability. And this is where that, self-awareness meets consistency and understanding that you're going to need systems in place for your system to feel safe to make changes, right? You're going to have to help it feel safe to move into this new identity, this new reality, and know that everything's going to be fine, even though there's going to be new problems and there's going to be new situations and a whole new thing, that you will still be safe and you will still be with yourself and you won't abandon yourself for, some false identity, right? So I always recommend, try it out. I would not be the one to say that your dream is wrong or bad ever. If you have a dream to do something, if you want to go dance with fairies and unicorns, I support you. I support dancing with fairies and unicorns 100%. 111. Thanks to the unicorns on this one. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, if you can, go for it. I love it. So, but you really need to understand, are you wanting to dance with the fairies and unicorns because you want to have that experience, or because you think it's the expected experience, or you think you'll get validation from the social matrix? Because most of the time that validation ain't worth it. It's so greasy. You don't want it. It's like, no, I mean, it'll make you feel good for 5 seconds and then it's like, poof, and then you feel worse. And that's a real neurological thing. So learning to validate yourself in your choices of what you want and not expecting it to necessarily be okay with everybody else. And that's okay because they have their own systems that are trying to keep everything stable around them. So when you start making changes, it can freak people out. And sometimes you will have to let people go if you want to move forward. Now, as a master manifester, your self-regulation, your self-validation is central. And it's great if you can work things out. Like, I am always for working things out if you can with people, but sometimes they will be very vehement about you can't change or we can't be what we were. And that's okay. Maybe you can be something else. Or maybe it's time for, someone else to be in that space in your life. It really depends on how you feel. I will never give you advice on things like that. Only inspiration of what could happen, what potentials, what possibilities. So don't look to other people to tell you what is authentic to you. That is one of the biggest things I would say that I've learned over and over again. Because sometimes, you get confused and you're like, who am I really? And you kind of want to bounce that off other people. But remember, they are seeing you through the lens of them, not the real you. Only you know the real you. So you need to determine where you want the real you story to go and with who and how you want it to be, right? And maybe at some points you can, manifest people that they just, open up and they're okay with it. Sometimes that will happen and sometimes it won't. But you cannot force that, You can't go try to talk them into it. That's not how systems work. Systems reflect. They reflect and they interact and they cohere or they don't. So when you're looking for alignment, you especially want to look for coherence of your values and your priorities. It doesn't have to look exactly the same. It can be completely different, people or situations, but as long as it is aligned with those core substances of how you feel about things and how you want your character to develop, that's what you need to be focused on. So I hope this has helped you to understand alignment and intentions a little bit better, to help you recognize when you're in alignment and how to try things out. Have some adventures to see who you are in different situations. Just don't assume a fantasy is going to be a reality. When you get things out of your head and out of the lucid dream, they're different when they're here in the solid. It's always that way because all of your senses are engaged, not just your observer, right? So I hope this will help you understand, and check out the next video. Please like and subscribe and sign up for the Method Muse newsletter in the description below. Thank you.